All right, so we are recording now. So we're going to go ahead and get started with introductions of who's in the room. So Carol, would you like to start with introductions and then pass it on to the next person?
Yes, thank you. Happy to be here. I'm Carol Lawali. My pronouns are she, her. And I work in the Career Engagement Office. I'm the Director of Career Engagement, and I'm happy to be here. Barry?
Hello, my name is Barry Motter. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed psychologist, and I'm one of the clinicians in the CAPS office, which is Counseling and Psychology. And let's go to Stevie.
Hello, my name is Reverend Stevie Campbell. I use they, she pronouns. I'm over in campus ministry, and I am the campus director for retreats. Deanne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Deanne Liu. I use she pronouns, and I serve as the Associate Director for Student Success and Outreach here on campus.
Thank you so much, everyone, and we're thrilled that you're here to share these resources for transfer students. The first question for you is, in what ways do transfer students contribute to the Seattle University community? Carol, would you like to start us off?
Yes, thank you. Gosh, I think that transfer students have so much to offer and contribute. They add tremendous value with the experiences they bring to our campus, their both life experiences, academic experiences, and I feel like they add a great deal of diversity in many formats to our campus, and we enjoy everything they contribute to our community of learners.
Barry, would you like to answer next?
Yeah, I had very similar thoughts to that question as Carol shared. I think in my experience, working with transfer students or in my understanding of the transfer student experience, I think there's really a lot of depth that gets added to the university as a whole when it comes to bringing in diverse perspectives, diverse life experiences. You know, we've got folks who are sometimes career changers, sometimes people who are non-traditionally aged. We've got folks from all walks of life who, for whatever reason, are making the choice to transfer to SU. And so that seems to really add a vibrancy to discussions and learning environments, as well as the ways in which people build community around campus and getting to connect with other folks who share life experiences with them, or who they may not have otherwise had a chance to engage with if they were only working with folks who were kind of in that, you know, traditional first time in college, straight out of high school age group. But SU's, we're really fortunate to have so many students who do come from a variety of backgrounds, and not everybody fits into that stereotypical mold. It's all kinds of folks. So I think that adds a lot of value.
Thank you so much. Stevie, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'll just echo what Carol and Barry have already said. I agree with all of that. And then I think another thing that transfer students bring is oftentimes, at least, a clarity and discernment around what they want in a university. They've come from a community college or another university, or like you said, a career change, and they have thought about what works for them and what doesn't. And oftentimes these students are coming, especially for the fact that SU is mission driven. And so they're really attuned to issues of justice, or right, they just know what they want in a community and saw that at SU. And that brings, just like Barry said, I'll borrow that language, of vibrancy to those students coming into our community and to our community. So I'm always grateful for the transfer students we have who are involved in campus ministry.
And in my role in Student Success and Outreach, we work specifically with students who are non-traditional, graduate learners, and transfers. And many of those folks are also first generation. So that particular population has very diverse in terms of background, like everybody else says, but we also have veterans, and bringing all those different perspectives, like Barry had spoken to earlier, really makes our campus more robust in understanding one another and our commitment to equity and inclusion. And so having a robust transfer community has made Seattle U a wonderful place to be.
Thank you so much, everyone. For our next question, we want to know about what's an event that your office puts on that you would recommend to transfer students and why?
This is a really tough one. I don't know if there's just one event. I want them to be at every one of them. We offer a series called The Basics, and that is really helpful and anyone can start at any time, whether it's wanting to decide what they want to do career-wise, and we'll do really start from scratch. Resume reviews, writing a resume, interviewing skills, all of those things, networking, and attending that will meet you where you're at. It doesn't matter, again, being a transfer student or not, you can simply join that and build on your skills in terms of career development right away with that Basics series.
Great. And with counseling and psychological services, our office works a little bit differently than many of the other offices on campus because we offer healthcare services, right? So we are offering confidential individual therapy for the bread and butter of what it is that we're doing on our day-to-day operations. When it comes to events, we're not usually participating in like CAPS is putting on this event, and so we're advertising that and things like that. What does often happen is that other groups and organizations on campus will request that CAPS provide an outreach presentation, perhaps some educational topic or something related to mental health. And so when those are requested, we are happy to accommodate that. And, for example, we offer mental health first aid training and suicide prevention trainings. Oftentimes, I think one that is often open to all students is usually a couple times a year, we'll give a presentation on request from the Learning Assistance Program, which is an office that provides a lot of academic support for folks, but they also offer these workshops for different people who are interested in various topics. So we've given several about like adjusting to college and what to expect there. And so I think if you're interested in events through CAPS, it's more about kind of keeping your eyes and ears open for when those outreach presentations come through in clubs, organizations that you might be involved in. And I'll talk a little bit more about what the counseling services are that we offer on one of our other questions. Yeah.
We over at Campus Ministry actually have a new student and transfer retreat. So often one of the reasons that folks are transferring is because they didn't find good community. They didn't feel like they fit at their first place, or maybe folks are transferring from a community college and they're looking forward to the type of community that the different type of community that a four-year university can provide. And so retreats are just a really, really great way to make connections over a weekend off campus with other folks. And so we do have a new student transfer retreat, and that is the very first weekend of November. And so I really encourage transfer students to check that out and build connections with their peers that way.
Over at SSNO, we have a specific, this week on National Transfer Student Week, we offer programs all week long in our transfer student spaces to offer recognition and pride and welcome to folks who are who consider themselves transfer students. So I would recommend this week as a wonderful week to enjoy. And also every quarter we do a welcome social for all transfer students as we have rolling admission. So every time a new quarter begins, we try to make sure that we connect folks together with one another and also offer some mentorship opportunities.
Thank you, everyone. That's wonderful. So the next question is kind of related, but what do you want transfer students to know about the resources that your office provides?
We want students to know that they can come to our office at any time or any stage in their college career. We even start seeing students right now as being prospective students who are exploring opportunities at Seattle University to see all the kinds of resources available to them. So you don't have to be graduating to decide that, oh, I think it's time I visit the career engagement office. And then many of our resources are also open 24/7, and especially those that are available online. We do one-on-one appointments with students, and they could be virtual or in person. And the appointments vary from all kinds of things. So you don't have to be ready to have a job. I mean, who knows what they want to be when they grow up? We're still trying to figure it out ourselves. So we want you to be asking those questions, and we support with exploration, discovery. It's okay to change your mind. And so all the resources, they definitely will be available. We want to meet you where you're at and grow together. So, and gosh, there's a lot I could say about that, but just wanting to say that you're welcome into our office at any time to support you wherever you're at in your college career.
Okay, so what CAPS does is we are the primary mental health support resource that's on campus. So we offer individual counseling services for all SU students. We offer, our services are short-term. So oftentimes people are coming to CAPS for a wide variety of reasons, but usually looking for something that is shorter term in nature. Although we also can provide assistance with finding therapy, psychiatric referrals off campus as well. So sometimes students are interested in more ongoing counseling, but they're not sure how to find what those resources are. And so you can call our office and we will gladly help you identify what some referral resources are that's in the area. And as I mentioned, we do some outreach and trainings and things like that when that's relevant. So our services are totally free. You can call our office to make an appointment. Our website also has a lot of different resources and information that are available 24/7, where if you are interested in some particular topics about mental health, or there's a video library, right, where we've made some YouTube videos about talking about various mental health concerns, self-care strategies, managing anxiety and stress, mindfulness meditations, those types of things. There's referral databases on our website as well if you're someone who wants to do that research on your own. There's a community resource page where there's links to relevant articles and TED Talks, things like that we've identified on a wide variety of topics related to wellness and mental health. And then there's also one thing that all SU students have access to for free. That's an app called Sanvello. So Sanvello is designed for use with stress, anxiety, depression, sleep concerns, those types of things. It's based in a type of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy that, talks about identifying our thought patterns and how they make us feel and the things that we do. And so a lot of students find the Sanvello app really useful in managing transition related stress or other types of concern. It's midterms we were just discussing. And so like this time of year, oftentimes stress gets a little bit higher. And so learning some kind of strategies that one can do on their own, ways that they can get their own sort of support in that process with some particular skills. The Sanvello app is great for that. You have access to all the free premium information through that the university pays for. So when you register, use your SU email address as the login, and you can have access to that. But there's lots of great stuff on our website that you can poke around in, or if you're interested in counseling, give us a call, whether that's here or off campus. We can definitely help with pointing folks in the right direction.
Thanks, Barry. I think when I think about what I want transfer students to know about the resources our office provides, the first thing I like to tell folks is that don't let the name campus ministry scare you away. You do not have to be religious. You don't even have to be spiritual to get connected in campus ministry. What we are really doing is meaning making and community building. And so kind of dispelling the myth that you have to be Jesuit or Catholic to be involved with campus ministry. I'm neither Jesuit or Catholic, and I work here. So first dispelling that myth. And then the second I would say is that I'm the campus minister for retreats. We do have retreats, which are always a nice way to get involved, either as a retreatant or a retreat leader, to do some reflection, to do some getting to know folks maybe you wouldn't get to know otherwise. We also have ways to get plugged into the community in terms of community service. If there's a justice issue you're particularly passionate about, our campus minister for social justice is plugged in with different community organizations that we do service with. There are immersions, there are, and then we also are connected with all of the student religious groups on campus. And so if you are religious, whether you are Muslim, Jewish, Christian, we have lots of different places to get connected with those religious communities. And then the last thing I'll say is that we also do what we call care and conversation. So none of us are licensed mental health therapists or providers. That's where Barry and CAPS come in. But we are pastors. We're good at listening and happy to listen. So whether that's transition, right? You're going through a big transition as a transfer, whether that is homesickness, whether there's been recent loss in your life, or right, you're just like thinking about a career change, right? You've gone to Carol for the logistics, and now you're like trying to process those emotions as well. There's so many things that come up in the life of college students, and we are here just to have a good conversation, be a listening ear, help you navigate those spaces of change. And we are confidential resources as well. So those are some of the things that campus ministry provides.
Over here at SSNO, we have a specific area. We manage 4 different living room type spaces. Also, I like to call them WeWorks. I don't know if people use that reference anymore, but we have one specifically for transfer students. It's called the Transfer Link, and the Transfer Link really does support our transfer students in that it's the hub where everyone can come and gather in the very beginning during orientation week. That's the living room space that we utilize the most. Folks can come and make friends in there, find community, use it as a study space. There's a lot of nursing students right now that are in the space as we speak, and you can use the space however you'd like it, or you can come to the various social gatherings that I spoke about earlier through that area. Most of the time we do see that transfer students don't, as I spoke to earlier, they don't just inhabit this one particular identity. So every one of our spaces is welcome for all of anybody who is on campus that considers themselves needing a space to go to in between classes. So if you're an adult learner and being in a transfer space with mostly traditional age students might not be your forte, you can go to that link. That's the graduate and adult learner link. And we also have the commuter student link, specifically for students who are commuting and they don't live on campus, as well as our first generation and veteran military connected outreach center, which is located on the first floor of the student center. And the transfer link is located on the 3rd floor of the student center. So any of those transfer students can go to, you can inhabit all those identities, none of those identities, but you are always welcome. And that is our bread and butter for this particular community.
Great, thank you, everyone. So for our next question, how would you describe the Seattle U community? And then what opportunities are there for transfer students to get involved? And many of you have already touched on those opportunities, but if there's anything additional you'd want to add, that would be great.
What I really would say, particularly for transfer students, and related, say, with career planning or career development, Seattle U offers so many student organizations and clubs and other kinds of learning experiences, which we really encourage all students to participate in. And the reason being is this is how you find your people, find your community in other interest areas. And when it comes to, say, like career development, being a member of, say, a student club, there are many roles and skills that you can actually gain that you could use to potential employers or graduate programs or anything post graduation to showcase particular skills or specific skills. And so, and the communities do such great things, great works, and there's different kinds of roles you can participate in. So I would say SU community is vibrant and it's full of opportunities for students to find community. And a great benefit of that is that you're learning outside the classroom other things that can really support your future. So, and another one that's really important, I would say, is look for on-campus jobs. They may not necessarily be related to your major, but you get so much out of those. You're building so many skills and competencies. It's also another great way to be plugged into the university. Just working in one department, you get to learn so much. You get connected to so many other areas around campus. So you sort of become an insider in many ways. And that can also help you in career-wise and also in building community within our university. Those would be how I would describe our SU community.
That's a great description, Carol. But let's see if I can add anything to that. So in my experience, I think I would describe the SU community as varied and passionate are two of the words that really came to mind for me. We see so many different, as you're gathering, right? There's all kinds of students who come to SU with a variety of backgrounds, interests, passions. And I think the fact that Seattle University is so mission-led means that people come here looking for something in particular and looking for ways to learn and get involved. And so as my co-panelists are mentioning, there are lots of offices where students do get involved. And what I tend to hear is that those are also fantastic ways for people to build community as well as develop their interests. And so, you know, whether those are identity-based clubs and groups, whether they are hobby-based clubs and groups, whether it's academically related or career related, right? There's just so many different pockets. And so I think being curious about what's available, willing to try some things out to see what feels like a good fit for you, and what you're looking for. I think that there's lots of those options. I'm blanking, folks. What's the name of the like social media page that students, like often clubs and organizations are posting information about? That's often how I think people are hearing about when club meetings are and what kinds of options are available.
That's Connect SU.
Connect SU.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I always want to say Engage SU and I'm like, no, that's another one, but the names are similar. I get them mixed up. So Connect SU, I think, is one of the ways that students can find those opportunities too when they're looking for something or just want to see what kinds of options are available. So that's definitely one I'd recommend people look into if they're kind of casting a wide net to see what options exist.
Yeah, and I'll just echo Carol and Barry. I think that's exactly right. I think all of our, whether it's a cultural club like we or Marianas, or a religious club like our Muslim Student Association, or right, like you said, like we have engineering clubs, we have accounting clubs, we have so many clubs, and being able to experiment, say like maybe this resonates with me, and you go in and it's not your vibe, and that's fine too, right? Being able to just plug in different areas to see what works for you. And then also, I think being brave about that. It's scary to come into a new space and kind of get plugged in. But I think, right, to echo, the way I would describe our SU community is, yeah, really passionate, really mission driven, but also really kind. Like, folks are thoughtful here. And so if you're willing to put yourself out there and join a community that you think would be a good fit for you, you're very likely to be received very warmly. So I would just encourage that.
I'm not sure how much more to add to that. There's a lot that everyone said about how warm and kind and friendly our communities can be as long as you stand out and be brave. And I just want to highlight that piece because it does take some courage, right? It takes some courage to apply to a university. It takes courage to transfer to a new university. It takes courage to start over. And you're already doing that if you're coming. And so yeah, just don't hesitate. It's hard, but we are here for that, and students know that. They have experienced this before with you, and especially in spaces like the Transfer Link, they totally get it. So I would say our community is a place of hospitality, and the opportunities really don't get overwhelmed with how much there is. Pick something and just explore it. I know there's so many opportunities that it can feel really overwhelming to even want to engage. So start slow, pick a friend, find somebody to connect with, and you can move from there.
I'm going to go out of order just to say one thing none of us said that I just thought of. We also have a Center for Student Involvement. It's on the 3rd floor of the Student Center. And so if you're like, all of this is going to leave my mind, I'm not going to know how to get involved, that's fine. The only thing you need to remember is Center for Student Involvement on the 3rd floor, because if you go up there, they're all super friendly. And if you say, I want to get involved, they'll plug you into those places.
Excellent advice, everyone. Thank you very much. So for our next question, in your work with students, what have you learned about the academic and social experience for transfer students?
I want to say affirm transfer students with all the choices they've made all the way through, including joining sort of a 4-year college to earn that bachelor's degree or join a program. And you've already been making great choices, and the amount of resilience that you already show continues to translate over into your academics and also in your social life. As many of my colleagues here have already talked about, being brave and having courage. I think you're already showing that by making all these choices to this point. And continue to be brave in making those choices. And my experience has been students are also eager to continue contributing to our community in many ways. I'll give an example. We were doing a series called Courageous Career Conversations, and I always look for a student group to sort of be the co-host of these conversations, and they're all related career-wise. And I worked with the Alfie Scholars, which is a scholars group for transfer students. And it has been one of my favorite joys on our campus. And the students have great questions because they end up facilitating the panel or the speaker. And I think you just stand out so in many ways of being this community. And I would say that what I have learned is as transfer students are just valuable members of Seattle University and continue to contribute to who we are and how we are on our campus.
Thanks, Carol. So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here, but as far as what I've learned about the experience is it's really different from person to person, as far as I can understand it, right? So for example, when it comes to the academic experience, some students come to SU and they're like, wow, these classes are a breeze. This is really different than my last experience. I totally am clicking with the instruction and the models that are getting presented. And other folks come in and they say, my goodness, the standards for education are really different. Like I'm struggling a little bit more than I expected to, or maybe than I have previously when it comes to my academic performance. And there's an adjustment there. Similarly, socially, right? For folks who have an easy time kind of going into new places and introducing themselves and making friends, they're probably going to have an easier time when it comes to being in the new environment at SU, right? Introducing themselves, kind of having that, channeling that extroversion to insert oneself into new situations like that. And for folks who do struggle to build connection and to make new friends, they might experience that here too initially, right? So oftentimes when I think about the transfer experience, I think transitions are really hard for all of us. Change is difficult, even changes that we're really excited about and changes that we're really hopeful and optimistic about, and we totally chose it and we 100% signed up for this thing. Like it just is hard sometimes because there's this period of adjustment. And so what I've learned is to kind of expect a little bit of a struggle in some way or another, right? That something may present a challenge in some way because our routines are changing, the people you're meeting are different, the classes are different, maybe it's the schedule, right? Like switching to a quarter system from semesters or something like that. All of these things could present a challenge. It doesn't mean it will be hard, but I think sometimes if we can kind of soften some of those expectations for ourselves to say, oh, okay, I'm doing something new. I can expect that maybe there will be a little bit of stress. Maybe there will be a little bit of challenge. Maybe I'm not going to find my perfect community in the very first club meeting I go to, right? Like that we can expect a little bit of that. It takes some of the sting out if we do find that to be challenging. And so while one can expect a little bit of struggle, I would also say it tends to be temporary. So as people get their footing, as people build that community, get a sense of what their teachers are like, understand the routine of the quarter system, right? All of these things. We do get used to those changes. And so having some compassion for the period that's hard while that adjustment's going on, while also holding on to that hope and that persistence and that bravery to keep trying, because we see time and time again that students end up being really pleased with their decision, even though it was hard to adjust to in the beginning.
Yeah, Barry, I think you put that all really well. It's just super varied. Everyone's experience is different, but I just want to echo one more time that yes, it's transition, but the majority of the transfer students I know, after they've made it through that transition, especially when they named their expectations versus reality, most of them found communities that have just been really life-giving for them. They've really been grateful that they transferred and have found good communities. And so yes, there's that transition period, but like hold fast to hope. There's also hope that it's not going to last forever.
Thank you. So Deanne did need to step out for a brief moment, so we're going to go ahead. Oh, there's Deanne. Okay.
Sorry, I'm the only one in the office today, so I'm managing a bunch of different things at the same time. I don't really have much to add. I think everyone kind of hit it on the head. I think Barry's, encouragement to go slow and be kind to yourself is probably the best kind of advice. And especially as you think about your academic and social time at SU, expectations are going to be everything. And having a really sensitive and sweet heart towards yourself as you continue to make choices and go through your time at SU is going to be the key to that kind of community building and success that you'll find here. And success is different for everybody. So yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So a lot of you really provided a good lead into this final question we have, and that's what advice do you have for transfer students as they navigate to Seattle U or just to a four-year university in general?
I would say be curious, be open, and ask questions and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially. And you'll find that many people are willing and wanting to help. You're not bothering anybody. Many people really are wanting you to succeed and understand this transition and change. As we've said, it could be challenging, but many people want to help. So please ask questions. Don't feel like nobody's out there. I think many people, even if it feels like it's unrelated, particularly at Seattle University, so many people will be like, I will find out for you. Even if they don't know the answer, they will be raising their hand and wanting to help. So asking questions, being curious, are really the piece of advice I would give for students transferring, whether to Seattle U or anywhere else. People want to help.
I would echo that. One of the things that I thought about was not being afraid to ask for help was definitely one of my big pieces of advice, whether that is asking for help from your peers and study groups, whether that's from family members and friends, asking for help as in like, can you listen for a little while? Can we meet up? I want some connection. Asking for help in your classes or talking, your professors are there for a reason and they want to help you learn. Office hours exist because they want people to come and talk to them if they're struggling in a class. Knowing when to reach out for professional help like counseling or support if that's something where you're feeling like I need something and I don't know where to go, but I'm having a hard time and this is more than maybe I can manage on my own. That really taking your own care into your own hands, I think, goes so far in what our experiences are. And with that too, I think I would also say, we talked about like, yes, transitions can be challenging and sometimes they're not. I often encourage people to anticipate what you've experienced before in other types of big life changes. So if you had a really easy time, maybe starting at your first institution or starting at your first school, like you might notice that something similar is going to happen. But if that was really challenging for you, you might anticipate some similar reactions, right? And so thinking about what your past experiences have been and that those might be similar. Helps us also cope ahead a little bit, right? Like we can develop some plans if, oh, I know this might be challenging. And in the past, what was really hard was building community, for example, or the academic piece. Like that might give you a clue of, okay, as I'm starting out, here's where I want to concentrate my efforts because that was really hard for me before. And so that's where I'm going to ask for help is building community or reaching out to my professors sooner than maybe I did before, those types of things. So kind of learning from your past experiences and gathering that information in order to know and potentially anticipate some needs or some supports that could be useful for you. Often I find to be really helpful for folks to think about as they're making those transitions.
Yeah, all great advice. I also think taking a little bit of time to reflect about your priorities and your values. Is your priority coming to SU to be really centered in that mission? So look into community engagement. Is it academics before everything? Is it community? Because then looking at those priorities and values, you can think about where you want to spend your time, what you want to be brave around, right? We spoke to it, so you're going to have to be brave. What do you want to be brave around? And then also, I think letting yourself be surprised about where you find connection. I've heard so many people say like, I am shocked that where I felt most at home was at campus ministry at SU, or I can't believe that where I felt at home was in like XYZ club. So kind of branching out beyond what you might think would be a good community for you, and let yourself be surprised where you find connection and a good fit. And also like, let those things shift and change. Maybe what's your top priority for the first couple quarters might not be for the remainder of that time. So just keep checking in with yourself about where you want to be brave, where you want to set your priorities and values, and let yourself evolve as you go through your time at SU.
Yeah, I would echo that too. Like, let yourself be surprised by joy and fun and happiness and connection. You just don't know when it's going to come, and so it's a wonderful place to be in terms of letting yourself have that. I think one of the best advice that I had heard from another student, was to not be afraid to also use Canvas. I know this is very specific, but to ask on Canvas if anybody wants to be on in a study group together. And it's probably the easiest Northwest way to reach out for help, where you don't really see each other really, but you'll all need help, and you might find some really great friends that way. But also, at some point you'll realize you're not a transfer student anymore. You're just an SU student. And that's the goal. That's the hope. That's the dream. And you are part of this community. You are a Red Hawk and you belong here.
Thank you so much, everyone. That was our final question. Thank you for all the helpful insights you've offered to our prospective transfer students along the way. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.